In our last episode, we explored what would happen if Ukraine defeats Russian troops in Oblast of Kursk. We got a lot of great comments and suggestions for future episodes, but one comment in particular stood out. It came from our buddy Azamat, and he suggested that we do an episode on what would happen if Ukraine conquered Kursk. And since Ukraine and Russia are currently fighting a war in real time, this is actually a very timely topic. So let's explore this fascinating what-if scenario. But before we do, as always, if you want to support the channel, please consider supporting us. It really helps us out. All right, so just like with the Poland scenario, we're going to start off by saying that this is obviously a fantasy scenario. It's not really likely to happen anytime soon, if ever. But it's still fun to speculate on how the geopolitical landscape of Eastern Europe would change if Ukraine were to conquer the Kursk Oblast from Russia. The main reason why this scenario is unlikely to happen is because the Kursk Oblast is located deep within Russian territory. It's about a 6-hour drive from Moscow, and it's not really close to the Ukrainian border. This means that Ukraine would have to launch a massive military offensive deep into Russian territory to capture the Oblast. And chances are that Russia would not take this lying down. They would almost certainly nuke Ukraine if they started taking territory inside of Russia itself. But for the sake of a fun little fantasy, let us just assume that Ukraine somehow manages to capture the Kursk Oblast without getting nuked in the process. How would this change the geopolitical landscape of Eastern Europe? Well, for starters, it would obviously be a huge propaganda victory for Ukraine and a major embarrassment for Russia. The fact that Ukraine would be able to capture and hold territory inside of Russia itself would be a major morale boost for the Ukrainian people and a major blow to Russian morale. It would also give Ukraine a land border with Belarus, which could allow them to become even more integrated into the European Union and NATO. And since the Kursk Oblast is home to around 1 million people, this would also give Ukraine a significant population boost. Of course, there's also the possibility that Russia would simply nuke Ukraine after losing the Kursk Oblast. But hey, this is a fantasy scenario. Anything can happen. Maybe Ukraine would be able to hold on to the territory despite Russian nuclear attacks. Maybe they'd be able to repel the attack and push Russia back even further. But one thing is for sure, it would be a very interesting development in the conflict, and it would also give us some fun new scenarios to explore in future videos. And if you have an idea for a future episode, please leave it in the comments below. We'll be picking a few of our favorites to turn into actual episodes. As always, stay tuned for more content. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already.